Welcome to the first episode of the week that was of the year 2016. Today we bring you different stories ranging from India's bid to woo foreign investors to measures being taken to create skilled India.
There is also news about government trying to create a participatory democracy in India and how Income Tax Department is using name and shame strategies to recover taxes and the eternal bonding between tax havens and MNCs.
There is also an interesting news about the Indian Parliament and how the face of the e-commerce sites is going to change for the better.
But first, let's see how India is preparing for the grand Make in India week.
Make in India week is the buzzword, isn't it? PM Modi is all set to inaugurate the mega event of Make in India week next month in Mumbai. Yes, taking cue from the annual Vibrant Gujarat Summit, the government has planned a Make in India week starting from February 13 to 18, 2016 in the commercial capital of India. The message is clear: to woo foreign investors in the manufacturing sector, which is presently contributing only 15 to 16% of India's GDP. The upcoming event will be organized by the Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion and will focus on the SMEs, startups, and how to create the much elusive ease of doing business regime in India. The Make in India initiative was launched on September 25th last year to make India a global manufacturing hub for creating millions of jobs. While government is expecting participation of around 60 countries and 1,000 companies, government should also boost the confidence of domestic investors rather than spending all its strength in pushing for more FDI.
Now some news about the PPPs.
Can we finally expect the much needed reforms in the public-private partnership projects in India? The Kelkar panel, headed by the former Finance Secretary, certainly seems to show us the roadmap. The report titled Report of the Committee on Revisiting and Revitalizing the PPP Model of Infrastructure was submitted by Mr. Kelkar to the Finance Minister Arun Jaitley last month. The ministry has recently made the report public. The panel has suggested a host of measures to boost the PPP projects in India, starting with the suggestion to set up independent regulatory authorities for each sector. The report also recommends reviving the 3PI Institute, which was promised to be set up by the FM in the last union budget, but unfortunately the institute exists only on papers. Suggestion has also been made to allow banks and financial institutions to issue zero-coupon bonds for easier funding of the PPP projects. The panel has also made a crucial suggestion to amend the Prevention of the Corruption Act to distinguish between graft and genuine errors in decision-making. The report has come at a time when PPPs are dragging in India and desperately looking for a fresh lease of life. But the question is, when are these measures going to be implemented? Can questionnaires help taxpayers in the new year?
Will 2016 see some reduction in the hardship of taxpayers? Maybe. The CBDT has recently issued an instruction to all principal CCs and chief commissioners of income tax that assessing officer must provide specific compliance requirements in the form of questionnaire to assessee whose assessment has been picked up for scrutiny. CBDT has rightly observed that since the taxpayers or their authorized representatives are required to comply with the statutory notice issued by the assessing officer, they remain clueless about the information required to be submitted, and their appearance before the assessing officer serves no purpose other than wasting time. This is a welcome measure for ending this adversarial approach of the taxman. Although the instructions are binding on the officers, one has to wait and see how much this translates into real action.
Government finally plans to make peace with MNCs. Let's see how.
Will the pending mega tax disputes finally end through out-of-court settlement? It seems so. Recently, the Revenue Secretary Mr. Hasmukh Adhia said that the government is flexible enough to explore the option of out-of-court settlement to end the legacy of tax issues. These disputes arose when the government passed retrospective amendments in the Income Tax Act, which led to lot of hue cry by the MNCs finally dragging India into arbitration. If government seriously goes for this option, this can see the end of long-drawn disputes with companies like Vodafone and Cairn Energy. Is it a coincidence that this statement of the Revenue Secretary comes at a time when India is set to host the Grand Make in India event next month for attracting FDIs? Giving up LPG subsidy no longer a choice.
The option of giving up LPG subsidy now becomes a compulsion. Yes, from January 2016, if the consumer or his or her spouse had taxable income of more than Rs 10 lakh during the previous financial year as per the Income Tax Act, no more LPG subsidy will be given. Initially, the success of this measure will depend upon the self-declaration to be given by consumers while booking cylinders. This recent decision has been taken by the Petroleum Ministry following a poor response from people to the Prime Minister's call for voluntary surrender of the LPG subsidy. Out of total 16 crore LPG consumers, merely 57 lakh consumers have given up their subsidies, which shows how accustomed we have become with subsidies even when many of us can afford buying LPG cylinders at market prices. At present, a subsidized cylinder costs Rs 419, whereas the market price is Rs 608. The government has justified the decision stating that the LPG subsidy was meant for the targeted groups under the Direct Benefit Transfer Scheme known as PEHL, so they could be provided with cleaner fuels. Let's hope this time people give up their apathy along with the LPG subsidy. Surgery of the Indian Parliament. Manisha brings the news.
Is the Indian Parliament going to have a new address? Maybe. Recently, the Lok Sabha Speaker Sumitra Mahajan expressed deep concern over the deteriorating condition of 88 years old Indian Parliament and requested the Urban Development Ministry to initiate construction of a new building. But on the other hand, urban designers and heritage conservationists have unanimously said that the Parliament is the symbol of Indian democracy and abandoning the structure is not a solution. While the Indian Parliament mostly symbolizes as the battleground of our politicians, but it is also one of the most beautiful structures in the world and an inseparable part of Lutyens' Delhi. But with the passage of years, the pressure on the present structure has increased substantially. And since there is no expert agency to repair heritage buildings like this, things have gone from bad to worse. However, experts have come up with several suggestions like extension of Parliament opposite the Red Cross building, one of the three triangles of the Parliament House complex. While restoration will be a daunting task, but let's hope the iconic structure of the Indian Parliament continues for many more years to come. What is the story of Untouchable Welfare Fund? Let's hear it from Sudipto.
The story of Income Tax Welfare Fund is still in a state of limbo. Yes, the Income Tax Welfare Fund with Rs 100 crores corpus was created by the Ministry of Finance over a period of 2006 to 2009, an interest-bearing section of public accounts for the welfare activities of the Income Tax Department. But the problem began when CAG challenged the validity of the fund and found it to be not in terms with the general financial rules. CIG also noted that since the fund was under interest-bearing section of the public account, there will be no parliamentary finance control, in other words, no transparency. In the opinion of the CIG, the fund should be wound up and activities which the fund aims to cover should be provided in the regular budgetary of the department. Since the fund remains unutilized with neither any expenditure nor any credit, the Finance Ministry is in a state of dilemma what to do with this fund. Can we protect our honest civil servants?
The suspension of civil servants will no longer happen without the nod of the Prime Minister. Yes, the Department of Personal Training has recently notified All India Services Amendment Act 2015, which replaces the rules of 1969. As per the new rules, an IAS, IPS and IFS working with the central government can be suspended only with the recommendations of the Central Review Committee, and after obtaining approval of the minister in charge of the DOPT. The administrative head of DOPT is the PM, who had expressed deep concern in the past to protect honest officers. The new rules are outcome of the infamous episode of suspension of honest IAS officers like Ashok Khemka and Durga Shakti Nagpal. With new rules come into place, states will now have to inform the centre within 48 hours of suspending any All India service officers working for them. Earlier, there was no time limit. This overdue reform should now encourage our officers to act bravely with any worries of being victimized.
One more event of Babu, corruption and CBI.
The CBI has registered a case against the Principal Secretary, Department for Welfare of SC, ST, OBC, minorities of the Delhi government for possession of alleged disproportionate assets of around Rs 6 crore. The Principal Secretary, who is from the 84 IAS batch, was arrested last month along with his PA for demanding bribe through his PA to clear the pending bills of contractor engaged by the department. The search operation conducted at the premises of the accused revealed documents showing as much as 8 properties in Delhi NCR, foreign currencies, gold coins, silver utensils and much more. With this, another top brass Babu falling foul of the CBI's latest crusade against corrupt officials. IT department uses name and shame strategy for tax recovery.
The name of the income tax defaulters are becoming public. Recently, the Income Tax Department, as a part of its name and shame strategy, has published the third list of 18 tax defaulters with dues amounting to approximately Rs 1,150 crores. Earlier this year, 2 more such lists have been made public. The list is being published in the leading national dailies with names, address, PAN numbers and the amount of tax arrears. For instance, the latest list carries the name of a Mumbai-based person whose tax arrears goes up to as much as Rs 780 crores. The list also calls to the people at large to provide information about the defaulters who are untraceable. Besides Income Tax Department, other authorities like RBI has also been publishing names of willful loan defaulters. But the growing usage of these strategies only shows the increasing number of habitual tax defaulters. Sale of mutual funds on e-commerce sites. Manisha has the news.
Online shopping may soon become more meaningful. But how? In an attempt to boost the mutual funds market, SEBI is contemplating to allow sale of mutual funds on the e-commerce sites. For this, SEBI has set up a committee headed by Infosys co-founder Nandan Nilekani to deliberate ways in which mutual funds can be sold through electronic means. The SEBI chairman has also indicated that if things roll out as per the plan, the sale may start within a month's time. This development will not only increase the footfall on the e-commerce sites but also push their revenues. It will be interesting to see people doing online shopping and savings both at the same time on the same site. Now some international news. Apple goes red over tax liabilities. Let's hear it from Sudipto.
Apple is again in news, not for launching a new product, but due to ongoing tax investigation in its operations in Italy. The Italian tax authorities have said that Apple has agreed to cough up 318 million euros, that is $347 million, for settling a tax fraud case investigating the company for using overseas offshores to avoid taxes. Similar investigations are also going on against other global giants like Microsoft, Google, who use headquarters in low-tax jurisdictions like Ireland to avoid paying higher taxes in countries like Italy. In the meanwhile, the CEO of Apple, Tim Cook, ridiculed the present US tax code, branding it as burdensome, archaic, and the main reason for setting up Apple's operation outside US in tax havens like Ireland. Whatever be the justification of Apple, the message is clear. The tax havens are a big menace for regulatory authorities both in developed and developing nations. On this note, we conclude this bulletin of the week that was.
Thank you for staying with us. Please do share your views at editor@tiol.in. And
Happy New Year!